Hi, I'm Lauren from LSP Actions and welcome to the video tutorial for the LSP Seagull Overlays and the applicator actions that come with them. After downloading from the website, you'll download your action file and the seagulls will be in a zipped compressed file and folder. This makes for an easier, faster download for you. Photoshop cannot read a compressed folder, they're kind of cryptically compressed inside. So the first thing you need to do is extract the files out of this into a new folder. On Mac, you can use Archive utility. Make sure to save the unzipped files, the full-size files, into a new location where you can easily access them. In Windows, you can right-click and choose Extract All, and this will also extract them to a new folder. And just wait a moment for it to carry that out. And once that's done, you can open up and see the seagulls inside. So let's go back up, and first thing we're going to do is install the actions. Of course, you can just literally drag and drop these seagulls over your image in Photoshop and resize and they will work. But what we're going to do is I'm going to show you in the tutorial how to use the actions. So to install the actions, the easiest way with Photoshop open is to just double click. If you have any trouble installing the actions, any problems, if it doesn't know which program to use and things like that, you can go on the LSP Actions website under video tutorials and click installation guides to see lots of different ways you can get actions into Photoshop. You need to be able to see your actions panel. If you can't see it, come up here to window and hit actions. You also need to be able to see your layers panel for best results, so also make sure layers is checked. If your actions are in grey editing mode, or if you're in Photoshop Elements, you can click on the action and hit play. Some of these actions are titles and spaces, so they won't do anything. You want to be able to click on the actions that I've put this little play icon next to make sure that you know that these are the actions to play. So step 1 is add seagulls. Step 2 is a one-click edit, so you can click the seagull that you've added into your layers panel, I'll show you in a moment, and you can warm, cool, brighten, darken, add haze, contrast, vibrancy, tone them down or paint shading underneath. And then you have an advanced section where you can match the seagull to sunset. So if you've got golden hour, a sunset scene, you can match the toning of the seagull to this. You can add some backlight seagull paint. You can blur your seagulls, add a ripple reflection, which is really, really cute. Paint light on and paint shadow on. You also have 3 handy layers here to undo, redo and flatten if needed. You can do this manually, of course, but the actions just save you time. If you prefer, if you're using in this mode, you just click them and you hit the play icon. If you prefer using them in coloured mode, I have colour coordinated them for you. So you come up to a little burger menu, hit button mode, snap it into a nice neat column. Let's go and find them. They will appear at the bottom of your action panel. You can drag them up when you're in grey mode if you want to. Again, you can watch the installation guide, or if you're new to using actions, there's so much information online about what actions are and how they work. So let's get started adding seagull to this image. I'm going to click here, add a seagull overlay. You can drag and drop, but using the actions to apply can make it a little bit smoother for you. The first thing you're going to want to do after playing this is to be able to locate where you saved the uncompressed, the unzipped seagull folder on your computer. So you don't want to pull from the seagull overlay zip file because Photoshop won't be able to read that. You need to make sure you click the seagull overlays that you have unzipped, the open folder. And once you're inside, I'm just going to make it a little bit larger, you can choose which seagull to add to your image. So I'm going to take seagull 5 and add him in. Hit place. And resize to suit your image. I'm going to right click this guy and select flip horizontal and pop him in our eye line so it almost looks like he's come down to have a look, which is really, really lovely. Hit enter and your seagull will come in a group called seagull. The reason it comes into a group is because if you add extra editing layers to your seagull, you can close the group down and keep your layers panel nice and tidy. Now we're into the one-click edit section. So make sure you click your seagull layer in the layers panel before using any of these because they will work on whichever layer you have selected. So make sure you have the seagull selected. In here you can warm them up. So I'm going to hit warm. And we can bring up the opacity. You see it adds that little bit of warmness to the seagull. And these are all editable, so at any point you can click the little icon. For example, this is photo filter, And you can, you know, for example on the warm, we could change the colour a little bit more. The density you can see there. So you can really just have a little play if you want to. They should work absolutely perfectly for your images in one click, but I've left them editable like this so you can apply even more tailored editing if you want to. You can cool them down, and any of these as well you can delete, or you can just turn them off, which is probably the better option, by hitting the little eye icon. I'll just show you what these do. Cooling the seagull, again you can slide the opacity up or down. We'll cool the seagull down, so if you've got a cooler scene that will work. Bright, brighten him up. Dark, we'll darken him down. Haze, if you've got a nice kind of matte or hazy scene, that works really nicely. Equally, contrast the other way. We'll add depth to the shadows and light to the highlights of your seagull if needed. Vibrant, we'll add more toning. Tone down, the exact opposite. We'll take some of the colour out of your seagull. To play the paint shading underlay, if you click on the actual seagull, for example, it's not really needed. I'm just going to hit the move tool up here. It's not really needed, but for example, if you had the seagull over an area that you wanted to paint some shading underneath, you hit the paint shading action. A brush is selected for you and you can dab this underneath. Again, you can play with the opacity. I'm just going to undo this. You can hit undo as many times as you need to. So I'm just turning the warm one on, turning it down a bit, just so it matches the warmth in our scene a little bit. In the advanced editing, again, make sure you selected your seagull layer. You have matched seagull to sunset. We don't need that one for this one. I'm going to show you that one in just a moment. If you've got a beautiful sunset scene, it's really warm and yellow and pink and gorgeous, playing that one will match the seagull to it. Backlight seagull paint, again, if your image is backlit, for example, I'm just going to play this one out and show you. Make sure the seagull layer is selected, hit continue. And what that's done, it's added some backlit paint. So I'm going to make sure, as with all LSP actions, my brush settings are white, 100% opacity, 25% flow, nice and soft. And I can add this really delicate little bit of backlighting. You see we have this glow. Really pretty. Ripple reflection, that's if you have a seagull on the ground and you can add a reflection underneath on the kind of the waterline. I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. You also have paint light on. You can just paint light onto a specific area. And paint shadow on. So I'm just going to make the layers panel a little bit bigger actually so you can see these layer names. They were a little bit hiding, weren't they? So as with any of these, you can turn them all on or off. You can play with the opacity if needed. Let's add some more seagulls to our scene. I'm just going to close the group down there as well, just to keep that neat. So I'm going to hit the Add Seagulls action. And let's choose a full seagull scene. How about we go for this one? This gives us some seagulls in the background. But because they're in the background, we don't want them all in focus. So I'm going to go on the blur seagulls. I'm just going to hit this. It's going to come up with a Gaussian blur. And I think I can bring the opacity down just a touch. That's just going to blend them a little better with the background. And perhaps warm them up by playing warm seagulls. Again, bringing the opacity up a little bit. And there we go. And at any point with these, you can hit the move tool and turn auto select off, and you can just position these about any way you need to. Really, really cute. And because everything is separate and editable, you can turn these on or off and just make them absolutely match and adapt to your image. Let's get another one up. So with this image, it's really warm, really very, very warm. So our seagull's going to look quite cool if we add them into this one. So I'm going to click Add Seagulls, and let's add a seagull scene to this one here. How about 11? We want them all kind of blurred and flying around in the background. In fact, maybe just that guy there. Because the layer mask is selected, I can just go over and, paint away using a black brush any seagulls we don't want to show. They're still there. The layer mask just black is hide and white is show. So what we want to do, we do want these seagulls a lot warmer, but we want them really warm and to match the scene. So I'm going to play the match seagull to sunset action. Make sure the seagull layer is selected, not the group, the actual layer with the seagulls on it. And I'm going to play match seagull to sunset. And that's done. And then all we need to do is bring our opacity up until it really suits the image. And there we go. We have a sunset toner there. Close that group down. Let's add another seagulls. Add another layer of them. We just really want some in the background. Which one should we go for? How about this one here? Now, of course, they're all in focus, so what we want to do first for this kind of image is blur them. I'm going to add sunset, match seagull to sunset again. Bring that opacity up just a little bit. And there we go. Hyper realistic and really, really beautiful. How about we add a standing seagull in the background and blur him? I think that'll look really cute. So let's go for this guy. We could add a few of these. I want him nice and small because he's going to be right over here in the background. And blur. I'm going to add sunset toner for this image because it's so warm. We want to bring that opacity right up. If it doesn't work for some reason, I think it's because I was on the layer mask, I'm just going to drag that down to the trash and go again. And drag the opacity up. And what I'm going to do back on the layer now, because this is a standing seagull, I'm going to add the ripple reflection. Let's just move him a little bit. Pop him up here. Okay, so because I've selected the seagull layer now, I'm going to come here and add the ripple reflection action. Hit continue. At this point, a box with your seagull kind of reflected is going to pop in. You want to add this so it's kind of touching the base of your seagull's feet and hit enter. The action will continue playing. And it's going to create this really cute, realistic ripple reflection. I'm just going to paint it off a touch with the black brush. A black blur box is also created, so with a white brush you can blur this if needed. And for this seagull, I'm actually just going to take his opacity down a little bit as well. And if at any point any of these layers move around, you can just drag them around to different places. To get a layer to only affect your seagull, right click and make sure you do create clipping mask, and it'll be absolutely fine. I think I'm going to warm this seagull up even more by hitting warm seagull and bringing up the opacity. Beautiful. Okay, let's go for another image. Gorgeous shot here by Karen Hick. Beautiful storytelling shot, these two little girls together, two sisters, and I think adding seagulls all the way around the outside is going to look absolutely beautiful. So let's go for it by adding seagulls. In fact, I'll show you how to add them manually as well, because you don't have to, let me just open seagulls up. You don't have to use the actions to apply them, they're just there to help you. You get the same result by dragging and dropping, so I'm just going to make these guys a little bit smaller. If you're applying manually, it won't be put into a group, it will just be the layer. So you're going to want to come down here where you've got the rectangle with a circle in, the layer mask. Add that. I'm going to grab a black brush, bring the opacity and flow up a little bit, and I'm just going to get rid of a few of these that are coming over the girls. But these actions here will still work even if you've added manually. So I'm going to come down onto the blur. And just bring that up a little bit. Now I don't want all the seagulls blurred, so with a black brush, I'm just going to take the blur off these ones here. And with a white brush you can paint it back on. Let's add another set of seagulls. Let's have some a few more in the background. And these ones definitely need to be blurred because they're going to be really far away looking. And how about we add a standing seagull? And he's on the same focal plane as the girls. And there we go. After you've added, you can still move them around. And I'm going to play ripple reflection. So remember, with this one you need to drag it into the right place and hit enter. The ripple reflection is going to play out and a black brush will be selected for you. It's going to bring my flow back down to 25 and I'm just going to dab this around him a little bit. So it's added that kind of water reflection. I think I'll also add a ripple reflection to the flying seagulls and calm it down. So I'm going to hit ripple reflection, continue. Move it into place, it's going to play out, and again a black brush will be selected so I can take this off any area I don't really want it to show and calm it down a little bit with a nice low flow on the blush. Because they are, these girls are reflected in the water, so adding that reflection in is going to make it even more realistic. So before and after adding the seagulls in. There's so many things you can do. Let's go for one more, make it nice and warm. So I'm going to add the seagulls. For this scene we just want a real lovely busy, I think, a nice busy seagull overlay. And I'm going to absolutely blur this one. Control or Command T if you need to, click on your layer. Control or Command T if you need to resize. And I'm going to use the Match Seagull to Sunset action and bring the opacity up just a little bit. Add seagulls again. Let's add some more. These ones can be a little bit more in focus, I think, have them kind of coming around our subjects. And again, Match Seagull to Sunset, or you can just kind of bring the warmth up as well if you wanted to. And let's add a little bit of blur. And on the seagull layer mask, I'm just going to take this guy off. Let's add a personality seagull to this shot. Which one shall we add? We kind of want a feature just to kind of finish telling the story. Number 11 is cute because he looks like he's kind of coming in for the land. Let's get him there. Let's warm him right up. And again, a little more warmth. And if the warmth doesn't quite match your scene again, you can double click the photo filter and you can change it. So I'm just going to make it pinker. And that's just double clicking the box and playing with the sliders. Clicked on the seagull, add a little bit of blur, just a touch. Don't want too much blur. And I'm going to use the paint shadow on because you can see we have shadows coming from our couple here. We want shadow coming from the seagulls. Oh no, sorry, not paint shadow on. I'm just going to undo those steps. We want to paint shadow under, which is this blue one here. The cool thing to do is you can right click your brush and you can kind of squash it down. And I want this kind of facing the same direction as our couple's reflection there, shadow. Bring the flow right down, nice and small, even lower. Control Command T, I'm just going to move this shadow a little bit on the very, very small shadow. We don't want it to be a big heavy shadow, just enough so it looks like he's kind of coming into land. Just going to resize it a bit. Bothering me just a touch, that shadow. Okay, so we just added that in. It just adds a little more realism into the scene. So before and after. So that's how to use the LSP Seagull overlays in Photoshop. Really, really good fun these are to add them in. Each one comes in individually, so you can tweak and change. You can move them around. You can reposition at any point. You can angle them. Right click, you can flip them around. You can do whatever you wanted to do with them until you're happy. So I hope you love them. Do post in the LSP Actions group with your results because I'd love to see them. I'm Lauren, thanks for watching.